To the Ask Martin GK show. Few technical difficulties trying to get a connection with Paul, so we're going to give it another go. So round two. Absolutely delighted this evening to have an international Monday night special here on AB1GK. Going to be joined by Paul Robinson, the ex-England goalkeeper. I had a great interview with him a few weeks ago and loved his company. And he's agreed to come back and talk to me about all things England. And we're also going to be joined by the one and only Tom Heaton as well. So I'm looking forward to joining both things international football. We're going to try and get a connection now. Fingers crossed it works. I have a cameraman on the case for me. Hello. Paul, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you, mate. Can you hear me?
Top man, we got there in the end. Sorry, buddy. It's great for you to hang around and bear with us. I appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed.
That's all right. I think mine was half to blame as well. I'm about as technologically advanced as a brick at the moment. I've asked my daughter to put it on the phone for me instead of the laptop.
That's brilliant. That's what daughters are for, though. You know, they're all so.
Oh, there you go.
It's all
fine. Working all right, yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine. Tom's going to join us shortly as well, so we're really looking forward to that as well. How's things with you?
All the better now. The golf courses are open, mate. Yeah, I've just got home from playing my first 18 holes in a long time, so it's been good. Thank you.
Yeah, happy days. Did you manage to watch the last couple of England games?
I did, yeah. Yeah, I watched the last couple of games. Scott Popey's done really well, actually. He's long overdue his chance. He's deserved his chance. And I thought he did really well the last couple of games. Yeah,
no, it's great to see him get a game. Jordan Pickford, I'm not sure the ins and outs of his injury. Do they think he'd be fit for the European Championships?
I would be fit for then, yeah. I suspect that he'll be fit not long after the international break. But I think Popey's done enough to stake a claim. I know it's been a fairly easy couple of games for him, fairly laid back couple of games. But he's certainly cemented himself as number two. And he's put a little bit more pressure on him as number one.
Paul, you spent about 18 months with Nick Pope at Burnley.
Yeah, Popey and Tom, both of them. Yeah, I was right in the middle of both. Tom was number one and Popey was number three. I managed to keep Popey at bay until I got too old to do any more.
What's he like as a goalkeeper?
Which one, Popey? Tom or Popey?
Popey.
Yeah, he's top class goalkeeper. I mean, he'd make saves in training that were phenomenal. I mean, me and Tom quite often discuss the raw talent, and he's one of these goalkeepers that develops late. Billy Mercer got hold of him at Burnley. There's a lot talked about his feet and his footwork, and he's not as good as the others with the ball at his feet, which is fair and unfair in a way because he's worked very, very hard. When he first came in, it's something that Billy Mercer worked very hard with him on. He literally didn't have a left foot, and he worked very, very hard, and he's improved massively. Shot stopping, cross taking, commanding of his area for me is the best out of the three that are in contention at the moment.
Tom's here as well. He's ready to join us. I'm going to reunite you two now. So he's just about to jump on the live with us. We're just going to connect with him as well.
That's unlike him being late. He's normally very on time.
Yeah. Hopefully it's good. We haven't done 3 on an Instagram live yet, so this is the first time.
Here he is. All right, pal.
Robbo, how are you, mate?
All right, lad. How are you?
Yeah, not bad at all, thanks. Not bad at all. Hi, Martin.
Tom, great to have you with us. Thanks for joining, buddy.
No problem at all.
How's things with you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Very good. Fighting fit. Struggling to get a game, to be fair. Emmy's been absolutely on fire, but yeah, other than that, really good, thanks.
There might be a little vacancy this side, mate, in a white shirt, Leeds United. I think that shirt would suit you, Tom.
No comment, Robbo. You know I can't comment on stuff like that. How's things anyway? They're right.
Yeah, really well, thank you, mate. Yeah, I just said to Martin, now the golf courses are open, life's returning to normality very quickly.
Class.
Tom, do you play any golf?
I do. My dad's mad keen. He's off 4. But I do. But with young kids and that, I'm not like Robbo. I'm in the kitchen, that helping out. He's out doing what he wants and that. So it's not quite the same. But I do enjoy it when I can get there.
Mate, Lucy May's 17 and Jack's 14. He's playing with me tomorrow because they're on Easter holidays.
Class. How's he doing?
He's doing all right, mate. Thank you. He's happy now that the academies have started again. Obviously, the football started again. Yeah. His cricket starts again next week. So it's just nice to get him out and doing stuff.
I've kitted him out in some AB1 gloves as well, Tom.
Oh, top class. Taking over.
Yeah. He likes them, Paul, doesn't he, the gloves?
Oh, he loves the gloves, the Galacticos, the red and black ones with the wristbands on. He's like his dad. I used to forever fiddle with my wristbands, and he's exactly the same.
I remember that, Rob. I was bang on that.
You two spent a fair bit of time together at Burnley. Good season or so. Paul, what was Tom like to play with and train with?
Weird, really weird. But one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
I knew it was coming.
But one of the nicest guys you will ever meet, and a model professional. I spoke to many people about how I learned off Nigel Martin and how you subconsciously learn from your elders and your peers in the dressing room. And to have somebody like Tom around in the dressing room, you couldn't wish for a better role model for the younger players. I mean, that's probably writing him off a little bit too soon. He's got another 7 or 8 years at the very top of the game, at least. And if he was playing, he'd be more than in contention for the European Championships this summer. He gets into the 3, in my opinion. He's prepared, he's professional, works very, very hard at his game. And he's never one of these goalkeepers who thinks that he's not too old to learn. He's willing to learn every day. But he's got his quirks. He likes his routine. He likes his timekeeping. He likes certain things. And if you look after him and give him a cuddle, he's a good goalie.
Cheers, Rob. That was very nice, mate. Thank you.
No, Tom, I loved having you on earlier on last year, and just the attention to detail that you do put into your week was phenomenal. And I love listening to it. The amount of feedback we got on that was brilliant. So thank you for that earlier on last year.
No worries.
I want to talk about international football with you two. Obviously, Paul playing for England. Tom, you've played for England, and there's no doubt you'll be playing for England again. I want to talk about call-ups. How does that happen? Does the manager ring you up or text you, or how does the call-up come on? I was really intrigued to know about both of your call-ups. Your first call-up, how did it happen?
I think for me, to be fair to Robbo, he's a lot more call-ups than me with his caps under his belt. But I think for me, I actually think it was Billy Mercer at the football club, the goalkeeper coach at Burnley at the time. I think the club get some form of notification half an hour, sort of an hour before I did as the player. So they get asked to keep it under the hat. But I think the excitement about, I think I was the first Burnley player for quite a while to get into the squad. Sort of passed around the club pretty quickly, and he was quick to tell me. I think we had an event or a function that night, so it was quite quickly went in with the staff at the ground, the manager, Ian Woe and Tony Loughlin, Billy Mercer, and it was a real emotional moment. You know, we've been on a fantastic journey there. You know, it was a personal achievement for me, but for them, you know, they'd taken me in from on a free transfer from Bristol City after being relegated out of the Championship, conceded a lot of goals that season. So, you know, there's probably an element of risk in their recruitment strategy there, but it come around sort of full circle to make the team squad. So a real incredible moment, emotional one with them as staff. And obviously, from a personal point of view, it was always a massive dream of mine to play for England. So to get that call up into the squad was an incredible moment.
Paul, what about you? Do you remember your first call up?
Yeah, things were different in them days. There was a girl called Michelle Farrer who was she was the engine room of the FA at the time regarding the players, the communication and stuff. And we just used to get a text as a player. I think if the squad was announced at 2:00, you'd get a text as a player at 11 or 12 o'clock, whether it was your first cap or your 100th cap. It was just a text message. And, you know, players have previously talked about it. And I don't think people in the press or the media or fans have actually believed it. But that is genuinely what happened. The England squad was announced at 2:00. You got a text at 12 to say whether you're in. If you were out, you got nothing.
No notification.
Well,
no.
unless there was a reason or the manager wanted to speak to you for whatever reason. But that was very, very rare.
I quite like it, I think. I mean, it's similar to that now. I think the club gets slight notification when I got into it, but it wasn't long. It was a similar sort of process to what Robbo's saying. I think, for me, I like it. You know, there shouldn't be any, I don't think there should be any, singing and dancing around the fact you're in, you're out. You know, it's the England squad at the end of the day. It's the cream, it's the best players in the country. You know, they shouldn't have to bend to any individual. You're either in, which is great news, or if you're not in, that's just how it is. You know, you sort of deal with it. I quite like that sort of, you know, an hour before you find out, and if you're not in it, you're not in it. You know, I quite like that side of it. I mean, maybe it's a little bit of an old school mentality, but I quite enjoy that side of it.
No, I agree with you. Listen, if you're good enough, you're in. And if you're not good enough, there's a reason you're not in. It's because you're not good enough, or there's somebody in your position that's better than you. You don't need the manager to ring you up and say, oh, you know, unlucky this time, you need to do this a little bit better or work on this. Basically, there's two players in your position that are better than you, so you're not in. You don't need anybody to tell you that.
No, I was talking to someone earlier on today, and we were saying like the role as the England goalkeeper, it must be hands down the highest pressure, most stressful role in football. Would you agree?
Go on, Rob, after you, mate.
Well, if you do a good job, it's all right. It's easy. But as soon as you let a few goals in, I think that the scrutiny that comes with it is it's incredible. I think you look at what Jordan Pickford's had to deal with, and it's nothing like what other goalkeepers in the past have had to deal with, like myself, David James. When that ball bobbled over my foot in Croatia, the scrutiny and the intensity that followed that, I wasn't prepared for it. You're not aware of what's to come. But Jordan Pickford makes one mistake when he goes to Everton in the Merseyside derby. Then all of a sudden, every goal that he lets in, because you're England's number one, is scrutinised. You know, if you're playing week in and week out and you're doing well, you're making saves. Look at Sam Johnson, for example, at West Brom. He's having a fantastic season, but the team are letting in numerous goals, but he's making 10 or 15 saves a season. He's got good stock. He'll get a good move at the end of the season because he's having a really good season. Whereas you make one or two mistakes as England's number one goalkeeper, everyone all of a sudden becomes a goalkeeping expert. And every goal you let in, you could do something about. So the scrutiny that comes with it at club level probably far outweighs the actual international games. Yeah.
I'd agree. I'd echo exactly what he said. I think goalkeeping in general tends to be a mini version of that. You know, it's a high pressure position. You tend to know that mistakes will tend to be punished. But as Robert said, you magnify the scrutiny by about 100. And I always find that England's goalkeeper tends to be scrutinised negatively rather than supported for whatever reason. Certainly in my time, I've never quite got my head around it. I understand goalkeeping tends to be a bit like that. We all play the position. You know, you probably wouldn't be there in the first place unless you got shoulders wide enough to handle it. But yeah, you know, having been in and around it myself and seeing others do it, it can be tough. You know, I think you have to be resilient, very resilient for it. Robbo's a prime example of that. You know, incredibly resilient guy. And I think to play and goal for England, it almost you've got to be that.
Yeah. You're playing at club level. You're playing week in, week out for your club, and obviously the England manager's got to be around watching games, or he's sending his coaching staff out to watch games. Do you ever really know if there's somebody watching you? You know, you're sort of in the frame, and would you say at the moment would Jordan Pickford know that Gareth Southgate was in the crowd for a particular game, or is it just they just sneak in, have a watch, and away you go?
Well, you see him now because there's nobody else there. There's nobody else there, so you can see him a mile off.
Even with a full stadium, if I'm honest, I'd know. I think Robbo's already alluded to a few of my weird sort of, attention to details. I for whatever reason, I'd always be aware.
Would you prefer to know, Tom, or not really?
Yeah, I'm always someone that rather have the information.
Martin, Tom knows who sits in seat A10 at the top of the West Stand. Don't you worry.
I do tend to be, for whatever reason, I just like to have the information. You know, by some way I'll find out. You know, I see him in the crowd or someone will let me know, and it's just me. You know, I'd rather have the information and deal with it, whether it's positive, negative. You know, I don't deal well with uncertainty, so I like to know what the crack is. So yeah, I'd be aware. That. And I think, you know, it wouldn't change any of my game. You know, I'd always be sort of right at it. Wouldn't change anything, but I just like having the knowledge there. You know, at Villa Park, you sort of know where the directors and they would sit for games. So you know, you'd be aware to where walking out and what have you. So yeah, it's one of those things that I'd just pick up on and make sure I'd sort of know they were there.
Yeah, no, it's interesting to hear that. I want to talk about like the coaches, sort of going from your club coach. You're working with your club coach week in, week out, day in, day out, and all of a sudden you get called up for England, and you go away with a different coach. What's the transition like going from being with your club coach to your international coach? And as a goalkeeper, what do you kind of expect from your international coach?
It's more difficult because you have a rapport with your club coach. And certain goalkeepers have certain traits who like to do things on a Thursday and a Friday in a certain way, in a certain routine. If you can't do that at international level, it's difficult because there's three other goalkeepers that want to work the same. If you're preparing for a game, as at club level, there's a clear number one, and you have a routine and you do what you want to do on a Thursday and Friday. But I found it with Ray Clements as well at the time. He's an absolutely fantastic coach and a very dear friend of mine. God rest his soul. And we had some great times together. But there was a huge difference between a club coach and an international coach, because they've got very little time to prepare you for a game. They don't see you on a daily basis. They don't know what you're like as a person, because they don't see you as often. They don't know what you're like. And because you're at international level, it takes a long time until you've got quite a few caps under your belt and a rapport with the actual coach you're working with to say, do you know what, I don't want to do that today. Can we change? Can I do that on a Friday? Or can we do that before a game? Because you go to international football and you work under the coaches and the manager, and you kind of toe the line, and you go, do you know what, you fit in with the drills and what they want you to do. Whereas actually we're a bit weird, and we're all a bit odd, and we like to do our own things and our own routines. And that it does knock you out a little bit at times.
Do you find that as well, Tom?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, actually. I think even within a club department, you get sort of different roles at different time. The goalkeeper coach has to find the right way of doing things with the different goalkeepers. If the goalkeeper's playing, it tends to be more about preparing for matches. You might have a small portion of it geared towards development of your game, but I think if you game after game after game, there's less of a portion of the week sort of geared around developing your game, more about getting you ready for games, maybe recovering. There'll be other goalkeepers in the department who maybe aren't playing, that maybe want to work more on the game, so there'll be a higher percentage with that. So you've got to find the balance within your department. I think once you go away to international football, you're taking on other people's goalkeepers as well. You're maybe bringing in 3 goalkeepers that are all working on their own things at their own club with their own ideas, all coming with slightly different ideas perhaps. So you're bringing all that together, trying to find the balance of what they've been doing at the club, then bringing them to what England, in our case, how they'll want to play. So you're sort of putting that over the top. Then you've got the one that might be playing. So, he might be geared towards the match prep, whereas the other 2 might have a bit more time on the training pitch. It's about fitting the different layers together. But I think, I think open lines of communication to the clubs, for the goalkeeper coach, open line to the players, to the goalkeepers themselves. I think that was always a big one for me. Was the only person really, the biggest influence on what I would like to do and how I want to play is me. So it's about me managing and getting what I need out of it, no matter what role you're playing within the team, and just talking. I think it's often that communication and being clear with your coach about where you're at, what you want to work on, how you feel. I'm a big believer in taking ownership of your training regime, and it's something that I try and say to a lot of the young lads at Villa. And take a grab of it. Don't rely on coaches to do it. They're there to help you. They might put things on to add to your game. There'll be a lot of input from them, but at the end of the day, the responsibility lies with you yourself. So yeah, that's how I see it.
It's important that you have a rapport with your international goalkeeper coach straight away if you're a number 1. I think, like anything at club level, Tom will tell you, there's a pecking order. If you're number 1, you go first in the drills. Whether it's stupid little things. If there's a footwork drill, the number 1 goes first, number 2 goes second, and the third follows. And that will become apparent at international level. But it's important you have an open line of communication with the coach, so he knows what you want going into a game. So if he wants to work on something 2 days before a game, he can also include or tailor the session to what you want as well.
Yeah, do they, like the international coach and your club coach, they have a rapport? Would they speak like in the build up to, say they've just got a camp now? In the build up to that, would Martin Marginson be speaking with the different coaches of the keepers that have been selected?
Well, Tom's not going to be getting selected. He's just got a bit of abuse there from Jack. He's just scored 5 past him today. Was that Tom? Yeah.
Yeah. Complete and utter lie. I had him on toast today. He had 1 out of 5. He had. Sorry, I lost concentration with him firing messages in. I think so. I think that's probably part of the role. I think that they have to have a rapport with the other goalkeeper coaches. Probably prior to the trip, maybe even during the trip, and probably after as well. I think that tends to be how it works. At the end of the day, that their England goalkeeper coach. I've been fortunate enough to work with Martin Marginson and Dave Watson. I had close relationships with them both. And both have got their own ideas, and rightly so. So it's just about finding the balance between what they want to do, what you're already doing at your club, and putting it all together.
Yeah, I really enjoyed speaking to Martin Marginson. He came on a couple of weeks ago on the show. It was brilliant to speak to, and it's quite interesting talking to him about the way he serves the ball. He uses cones a lot, doesn't he, Tom?
He does. I actually had I had Marge. He was Cardiff goalkeeper coach when I was down there when I was 23ish, 22, 23. And he was brilliant. You know, he didn't use cones then, or not that I remember. Maybe the small ones, but he's added it in. You know, it's good. It gives you a different trajectory of the ball, different sort of strike. It often moves a little bit, which is something that is not always easy to get in training, especially when you sort of with the goalkeepers who don't tend to be as skilled as the outfielders with that. So yeah, you know, variety of techniques, even the ball above his head for reenacting throws, you know, in and around the box, reenacting headers. Sorry. Yeah, you know, he's got a variety of techniques that have been new to me, that have been brilliant. Actually, you know, I think you can see on all the videos that you can pick up online.
They're good, the videos, aren't they?
Yeah,
really
they're
good.
really good. Actually, yeah, it was a real good side of that. I think that went down really well with everyone watching them, and yeah, I think it gives you a little sort of snapshot into a lot of the work that goes on and the different ideas that he's brought to the role.
Yeah, no, I love watching them. I want to speak about going into this summer's tournament, knowing who the number one's going to be. How important is it for the goalkeeper that's going into that tournament, knowing that they're the number one? I watched Robert Green on Monday Night Football a couple of months ago. It might have been about a month ago. And he was saying, going into the World Cup in 2010, all three had no idea who was going to be the number one. He found out, I think it was an hour and a half before the kickoff. That must be so difficult for a goalkeeper, Paul, not knowing that you're going to be the number one and finding out so late in the day and having to prepare like within a couple of hours when you might have done it, say, in a week.
I think if you're an older goalkeeper, it's difficult. But as a younger goalkeeper, you're just pleased to get the chance. I played for certain managers when I was a youngster. They'd announce the team and they'd just turn a flip chart over like an hour and a half before the game, and that's how you find out if you were playing or not. And that's very, very old school. But goalkeepers, like I said to you, are a different breed, and you do a lot of the position is natural ability. All goalkeepers have natural hand-eye coordination and have a natural ability to play the position. A lot of it is confidence, and if you're confident and you play well, and if you know that the manager's confident in you, if you know the coaches believe in you, and you are number one as such, and it's the only position on the field that does almost guarantee a starting position. You see managers want to go back to their number one goalkeeper. It's like a comfort blanket for them. Look at Steve Bruce at Newcastle. Carl Darlow's come and he's done brilliantly well. He's had one bad game. He puts Dubravka straight back in because he's been injured. He's not done anything wrong. He got injured and he's been fantastic before he was injured, but he's his number one. I mean, and you'll quite often find that managers do that. And it is difficult when you know that there's an air of uncertainty around a position. Even if there's just two of you, you know, there's two of you at a club. And if the manager doesn't make clear who his number one is, you think, well, does he fancy me or not? And all of a sudden there's that air of doubt in your mind. And you don't need that as a goalkeeper. Yeah.
I think Robert Green kind of almost referred to that when he was speaking the other day, just not that preparation. Obviously, there was that mistake in that game and it must have been so tough, obviously preparing for it, then having to go through that in a World Cup.
It's not easy. Yeah, of course it's not easy. But at that time, there was a lot of uncertainty, like you say, who was going to play and who wasn't going to play. And I think that's when JMO came back in, wasn't it? And was it Fabio who took him to the World Cup? Yeah. Me and Fabio weren't exactly friends. That's why I didn't travel to that World Cup. We kind of fell out. We fell out previous to that. Talking about managers being open to discussion and conversation, he certainly wasn't one.
Talking about Capello, what's it like a foreign manager that doesn't really speak the language? It must be like to get his views across and how he wants the team to play. It must.
It was
be
fine,
a
mate. It was fine. It was fine. Yeah, when he wanted to be, but when you wanted to speak to him and he didn't want to speak to you, then he had trouble.
Yeah, interesting. You say that. What's it like going away in a camp? You go away for a World Cup or European Championships. You're away from home for a period of time. Guys, what's that like?
For me, I really, really enjoy it. I think representing your country is a massive deal. You know, I went to the 2016 Euros. I'd not long been in the squad. I think you know, sort of 9-10 months, and I went as number 3. You know, as clear sort of number 3. Harty was playing. Big Fraser Forster was number 2, and I was number 3. So, you know, I knew game time was going to be limited, but literally. Absolutely loved every minute of it. You know, unfortunately, it didn't end particularly well. But I was surprised at that. You know, I've got to say, you know, up until that point, I thought we were going to go a long way. Unfortunately, football being football, the Iceland game didn't end particularly well at all. But yeah, just an incredible experience. You know, to see, you know, a major tournament up close. Just just gave me more hunger for getting more involved and getting more caps under my belt and drove me on forward with that, really. So, yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the experience.
How about you, Paul?
I've been involved in a lot of camps. I think the first one was really Euro 2004. And as England players, we're not brought up on tournament football, which is why I think we've struggled a lot of the time. In my opinion, we're fast-tracked far too quickly. I played one under-21s tournament and then was fast-tracked to a full squad. And we seem intent on fast-tracking younger players that will go and train with the first team and sit on the bench and be part of a squad rather than learning how to play tournament football, which is completely different to Premier League and League football that you play week in and week out, which is, in my opinion, why we've struggled in some major tournaments quite often. You look at the Germans, the Italians, the French, they know how to play tournament football. They give their younger players a grounding. We're getting a lot better at it now under recent times, under Gareth Southgate and the FA and the current DNA that they're trying to put in. You look at the trophies that they've won at the youth levels, and I think that we've kind of realised that. But going away to play and being in a hotel with, 50, 55 people that you wouldn't choose to normally live with. Some you get on with, some you don't get on with. Some are staff, all different types of staff. There's a squad of players, there's a whole bunch of staff, and you're forced to live with these people for a length of time that you wouldn't have to. And it's a different environment, and it's one that you have to learn, and you have to learn very quickly. I was.
Did you find it hard being away from your kids?
I did when they were younger, but I love it now, mate. It's great.
That's where I'm at.
No, I was part of 2006, the so-called golden generation, where Sven was quite astute and quite clever. He'd identified that there was a problem with English players being away, and he wanted to not soften the blow, but make it easy for you, if you like. So tried to get the families involved and brought the families abroad and took them to a hotel near us. And we saw the debacle that unfolded from that, all the wags and everything else. And it was a complete debacle. And it was the biggest, it backfired on him hugely. But the intent was there, because I've been involved in squads that have been away in hotels. It is difficult to be away from your family for that long. But at the end of the day, you're doing a job and you're getting very well rewarded for it. And it's something that you have to learn to do. Sven tried to bridge that gap, and it backfired in a big way.
Yeah, massively, did it? I remember it well. We've had a question coming. I'm just going to chuck it in. It says, how do you find adapting to a different system, i.e. from a club to international? So you go from, say, Villa to England, different style of football. Does it take a little bit of adapting to, Tom?
It can do. In fairness to Villa, they actually play a similar system to what England are playing at the moment. So when I first got into the team at Burnley, we had a different sort of philosophy, really. We were much more pragmatic. If it was on to play, we'd play. To be fair, very underestimated how much football we played at Burnley, but it tended to be higher up the pitch. Whereas England were more about building from the back. So yeah, it took a little bit of getting used to understanding that side of it. I'd done it previously at other clubs, but not at that level, really. So it can be. There can be a bit of a sort of spell where sort of transition period where you're getting used to how they play and having an understanding. You get very clear messages from England that make it very, very, very clear, crystal clear in everyone's mind about tactically how they want to play, how they're going to go about it. They do a lot of work in the week. So it doesn't take long to get up to speed. But I think, it probably does help. Now where I'm at Villa, where they play a similar sort of way, it's an easier transition just to roll straight into the week and play a similar way.
Yeah. How about you, Paul, when you went from your club football to international?
It's easier for goalkeepers because we've got one job, and it's to keep the ball out the back of the net. Different managers now, like Tom said, they want you to play certain ways, whether you play short from the back, whether you play wide, whether you play long. That's probably the only difference that I found was the way that the distribution was wanted, or the line that you kept behind your defence. If a certain manager wanted to play a high line, they obviously wanted you higher up the pitch behind that line and to sweep up. But as a goalkeeper, it's a lot easier to transition between one formation and another, or a certain style and another style. It's personnel more than anything. It's the personnel in front of you that you're unused to playing behind, let's say.
Yeah, but it must make a massive difference.
It makes a huge difference as to who you play behind, because a lot of the goalkeeper's job is done with the mouth. If you can sort the troops out in front of you and stop the ball getting anywhere near you, that's half the battle. The battle is to keep the ball out of the net. then you've got 10 of them in front of you that can do that before you. So if you can marshal them correctly and stop the ball getting anywhere near you first, it's a huge advantage. But if you've got a couple of clowns in front of you, which I've played with many a time, you're overworked.
Yeah. I love having you on, Paul. It's brilliant. You're so honest as well. What was I going to touch upon now? Your favourite England goalkeepers, sort of like from your lifetime, both of you. I'm really intrigued to know who your favourite England keepers are.
Paul Robinson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Taught him everything he knows, you see.
Class. And what about you, Paul?
You're not going to ask him for his real answer yet, no?
No, I'm not going to lie. You're not far off, Robert. You and Seaman are top. You and Seaman are a toss-up.
Yeah, David Seaman's fantastic. I mean, my memories of Euro '96 and the penalty saves that he made. Yeah, I mean, a great goalkeeper. He just made everything look easy, very, very easy. I mean, he's become a good friend of mine. We play a bit of golf together over the years, and he was just one of the goalkeepers who just made everything look so simple. You very rarely saw him plucking a ball out the top corner or flying across his goal. He'd get there with his feet and he'd make things look so simple.
Yeah. What's your first tournament you remember watching as a kid, Paul? Watching England at a tournament?
86, Mexico. Diego Maradona's Hand of God. And I collected all the Panini stickers. That was probably around the year you were born, Tom, wasn't it?
Was, yeah. Born in 86, mate. Mine was Euro 96. What a tournament. Incredible. I went with the song as well, didn't it? Euro 96 had the song with it. So yeah, just looked like a brilliant tournament. Really got me into sort of international football.
Oh, but Darren's gonna, yeah, it was brilliant, wasn't it? That was unbelievable summer, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was incredible, absolutely incredible.
My first memory was in 1990 in Peter Shilton. He was a great goalkeeper as well, wasn't he?
That black and yellow zigzag shirt that he wore.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Before me, that lad. Sorry, can't help you.
So we're looking ahead to this summer. Paul, what do you feel our chances are by Euro 2020, Euro 2021, whatever you want to call it? How do you feel we're fair? Got a good squad, haven't we?
We've got a great squad, yeah, but I think we're always guilty in this country of getting carried away. And I think in the final 2/3 of the field, they've got a great attacking lineup and they've got a great chance defensively. John Stones has been impressive this season. I think you compare the squads to other squads, and yes, they are up there. And you know the expectation and the hype around that will come, of course. But you don't forget the Italians, who are on a huge turn of form under Mancini. You've got the French, you've got the Belgians, you've got the Spanish. So when you look at our squad and you analyse the squad, yes, it's fantastic. Yes, we've got a great bunch of players. Don't forget the teams that they're going to have to play against to lift this trophy. They have a great opportunity. When you get to the quarterfinals and the semi-finals, it's a one-off game. It's a knockout game. They are capable of beating anybody, but they do have to be at their very best to win this tournament, because I think there's a lot of very good teams across Europe that I've just named.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think
you get.
Sorry, Martin. I'm just going to say I totally agree. I think it's such fine margins at this level where you've got such good teams. But having been sort of part of it, certainly up until sort of I got injured, really, and seeing how it's progressed and how it's moved forward and how everything's sort of being geared towards it, I think Robbo's bang on. I think we've got a great opportunity. You know, you look at sort of the fine margins in games in the 2018 World Cup, that we were sort of on a knife edge. So tournament football is tournament football. But if you look at the body of players that we can pick from, I think we're in with a really good shout.
You get to those knockout stages, Paul. Does the intensity just totally change? You sort of get past the group stages, and it's knockout football. Can you really feel it in the dressing room?
No, it's from the first day in the World Cup, or the Euros, whenever it is. It's from the first game. I mean, the knockout stages don't really change anything, because you're under pressure to qualify from the group straight away. So I don't think the intensity does change in the knockout stages. I think the intensity is the actual tournament itself. England will qualify. They always qualify for tournaments with ease, like we have done historically, bar the odd one or two slip-ups a while ago. But I think, England's qualifying history is there to be seen. They qualify with ease. It's, and quite often you get through the group stages in tournaments. It is the latter stages, but the atmosphere in the dressing room doesn't really change.
No, I can't wait for this summer. So looking forward to it. But some fans back as well is going to be good as well, isn't it, lads?
Yeah,
Finally,
massively
yeah.
missing it. Yeah, football's massively missing that. You know, it's just it's between that and the handball rule, it's been a bit hard work actually, if I'm honest.
It's been a long season, Tom, hasn't it?
It's just not quite the same without the fans, and I don't mean that.
No.
It just without the noise in the stadium, it's different.
Yeah, what's it like being in the stadium? You know, a Premier League football game, no fans inside. Obviously, we have the luxury of putting on the crowd noise if you're watching it on TV. It must be so eerie.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's interesting in the fact if you were sort of in there, you get to hear everything that's going on from the managers to the players, and I'm sure you pick a bit up on that on TV. But in terms of the sort of buzz around games, especially at Premier League level, when you walk out in the stadium and it's electric, it's just it's strange having a completely flat atmosphere. Can't fans coming back in can't come quick enough, really.
Yeah, talking about atmospheres, I'm going to ask you this both. It's just a question that just kind of come off the top of my head. What's it like walking out in front of 60, 70,000 people? Is there a particular game where the atmosphere has just been so electric that you just remember so well when you look back on your career at that moment, walking out the tunnel, that atmosphere?
Yeah, got a few. For me, I've got a few actually. I think, sort of working backwards, my debut at Villa Park, incredible stadium. We had Bournemouth in the league first day. Didn't play particularly well on that day, unfortunately, but in terms of walking out the stadium, it was a great moment. I came back into the team the season before for Burnley halfway through the season, replaced Joe, and the atmosphere received from the Burnley fans that day was unbelievable.
They love you. They're all on here now. They love you. They absolutely love you. They all want you to go back.
Playing at Old Trafford for the first time when I went back since leaving. I was there for a long time, 13 years, was a big moment. And I think the other one that I'd probably chuck in the mix was playing at Wembley for Cardiff a few years ago against Liverpool in the Carling Cup final. 90,000 people at Wembley walking out is, when one half's red and one half's blue, it was, a special atmosphere that day. So for me, they're probably the four that come to mind, yeah. What
about you, Paul?
Well, I'd much rather play in front of 80,000 than stand in front of me dad and three mates on the tee like I did today. I tell you what, the individual sports are so much harder. But no, I mean, I was very fortunate to play in some big games over my career. The Champions League run that we had with Leeds, the way that the Leeds fans used to travel. I remember going to the San Siro, we drew 1-1 with AC Milan away. I mean, that was an incredible atmosphere. Wembley's always, it's criticised for its lack of atmosphere. But I played in the first game there against Brazil, and the atmosphere there was phenomenal. But some of the games of the Champions League, the Spurs when we beat Chelsea in the Carling Cup, which was the last time Spurs won a trophy, very, very fortunate. But the one that really got me was the World Cup in 2006, the actual first game there when we were singing the national anthem. And it does get to you as players. The phrase "hairs standing up on the back of your neck," and you can feel yourself almost welling up. It's the atmosphere is actually incredible. So, like Tom said earlier about the football missing the fans, it's not the same. Football is about the fans, and it does have a huge effect on players.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's really interesting to hear those views. And playing under lights, is there something special about playing under lights?
Yeah,
Does it
definitely.
That change it all as well?
Definitely. Those 12 o'clock kickoffs are awful as players. I don't know. You hate them. You very rarely get good games at 12 o'clock, and as goalkeepers, the sun's always low. It's always sitting over the stand, and if the pitch is dry, you very rarely get a good game at 12 o'clock kickoff. Players used to love playing, on a Monday night football or midweek in European games under floodlights. There's just something special about the atmosphere. 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon is all right in the winter when it's dark, but it's those early kickoffs and bright daylight. You just don't get the same atmosphere or the same game.
Yeah, do you feel the same, Tom?
Yeah, I'm just going to say I totally agree. I think under the lights, my dad still talks about his first under the lights at Villa Park. I think we had Everton on a night game. Just an incredible atmosphere. Everywhere you go, I think under the lights is it's just special for whatever reason. It adds to the atmosphere, adds to that sort of feel inside there. So yeah, I think I'd take that all day over an early kickoff. Yeah,
I love going to a midweek game and sort of you walk up. As a fan, you walk up the the steps, and you walk through and you see the green grass and the ball sticking around. It's something special, isn't it?
Yeah, but the way they mess about the kickoffs for the telly, it messes about the players, because players have routines. They like to eat certain things so long before a game. I mean, now he's gone. I'll tell you, he's one of the strangest players that I've ever played with, who has a routine before a game, and he's got to have a certain routine. So some players like to have a plate full of pasta at pre-match. If you're kicking off at 11:30 in the morning, it's damn hard work to get a plate full of pasta down your neck at 9 o'clock with your Frosties. Yeah. So that's because there's a lot that goes into the build-up to games as to why players don't like them.
Yeah. I haven't forgotten Robbo's 4 espressos that he has for a pre-match. That's your pre-match.
I'm still on them, mate. Even though I've finished playing, I still have 4 espressos before I get up.
Can't beat good coffee. Do you both drink coffee?
Nah, tea man for me.
Oh yeah, tea man. I do like my coffee, I've got to say. Before you go, I want to thank you both for coming on this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've loved it. It's been brilliant to talk to 2 lovely human beings. Tom, how's things with you going? You injury free now? You're back training? Everything's well?
You're going to sign for Leeds?
Everything's very well, thank you. I feel great. You know, the injuries a long way behind me. I've been back sort of training for, not far off 6 months. So back on the bench Boxing Day. So what are we now, April? 4 months or so. I've been back up to full speed, and I feel up to full speed. The team's been fantastic. Emmy's come in and been absolutely outstanding. He's been incredible this year. That's football. That's how it goes. Keep working every day. Hopefully, an opportunity will come at some point. Yeah. Whether that be now or down the line. But no, no issues for me whatsoever. I'm competing every day. I'm enjoying competing. It's nice to be fit. Better than sitting on the injury bed. But certainly got more hunger than ever to get back out there. So no, I'm working hard at the minute, but feel great. Thanks, Martin.
Yeah. Is your contract up at the end of the season, Tom?
It is, Paul.
Oh, is it? Oh, I just wondered.
Who knows what this summer will bring? Paul, talking of the summer, what's your plans? Are you going to be media work in the UK or are you abroad?
Hopefully, yeah. Obviously, I work a lot in Qatar for beIN Sports, and I've not been able to go out there with everything that's been going on for over a year and a half now. And me being one of the oldies and having a problem with my lung a few years ago, I had a blood clot in my lung. I don't know if you remember when I was at Blackburn. I've been fortunate to get one of my jabs about 3 weeks ago. So fingers crossed, I'm hoping that I get my second jab first week or so in May, and then I can travel out to Qatar in June for the European Championships. I'm hoping. If not, I'll be working in some form somewhere in the world.
Yeah. How do you feel after the jab? Were you okay after the jab?
Oh, mate, no, it killed me. Have you not seen that thing that goes around on WhatsApp about the footballer having the jab and his arm rolling around on the floor? There was a picture of a footballer. It said as a footballer has his first COVID jab and he's rolling around on the floor. You asked my missus and the kids, that was me for 3 days. My arm was like that.
My dad really suffered. He was really, really rough. You have to send me that later. It's been great having you both on. Paul, will you come back again soon?
Yeah, no problem. It's been a pleasure. Tom, nice to see you again, my friend. Keep in touch.
Robbo, great to see you, mate. I've enjoyed
that.
Great
it's been brilliant. I've really enjoyed this.
Cheers, Martin.
We'll see you
Martin.
soon.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Good night. See you later.
See you, mate.
Cheers. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Wow. What a brilliant evening that was. I'm sorry if I didn't get to everybody's questions. There was hundreds coming. But what a great evening that was. A Monday night international special live here on Instagram. We will put a rerun up on YouTube. I'm also going to put it into a podcast format. So if you've only just joined us and you've missed it, I will send out some links with the social media team here at AB.